I'm Hot and Cold, flex player for Mirage Esports, and you're watching R6 NAL.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm the host, Veli, and right next to me, we have both of our analysts. They're not too good predictions as we saw the last series, but this time around, they might be all right. Jesse, Jacob, how both of you feeling for this second match, TSM versus Mirage?
I think Mirage are a team with a lot to prove still in the NAL. You know, they're looking for some more wins to get on the board. Obviously, they had a very close game against Dark Zero. They got 1 point, so they're not technically in dead last right now, but they definitely want to be higher than they currently are. TSM as well are a team that have been upset before, and they want to make sure that that wasn't a fluke.
Looking at the MVP of last week, Geometrics, he's going to be joined by Merc, Achieve, Chala, and we all know what Tom Bolo's playing. Is going to be now. And Jacob, this question is going to be for you, right? You brought up a great fact earlier. This is going to be the third consecutive game where TSM faces a team that wasn't in the NAL last season. What does that mean for today?
I think it's more that TSM probably just grew really accustomed to facing teams that were in the top 4 to maybe even like top 5 of the NAL from last stage. Yep. That's not to say that you can't, get out of that groove and face teams that aren't in that system. But the thing about it is the game against Beast Coast, it was a slaughter. There wasn't really anything that they could do to combat Beast Coast's raw aggression. Playing against Exit was a little bit of a different story because, again, we obviously should mention Filthy was not playing at 100% because of personal reasons. But the thing about this is TSM just are going into 3 straight matches against teams that didn't play in last stage, which may or may not be a little problematic considering that they probably spent a lot of their time last season prepping for teams that were within that top 4. So it's just, how do you deal with facing new blood in a league that has a lot of it this stage compared to last stage?
Good question, right? And Jesse, we're going to see how this team is going to face off against Mirage, right? A team that has upset potential. But you know what? They have firepower on their side. Geo had the best showing in NAL history. We all saw him pop off as a hard breach last week. He has Bolo with him. He has Achieved. He has Merc. Like, this team is stacked, man.
Yeah, from a stats perspective, last game for TSM was really historic. The highest rated player ever in a single match, Geo, with a 2.16 rating, achieved the second highest rating ever in an official NAL match, 2.09. Also, the only 2 players to ever reach above a 2.0 rating. Obviously, their impact was incredible, but I think even from an analytical perspective, these players were hugely impactful. It's not that they were just picking up kills, at the end of the round. They made big, solid individual plays. Geo had 2 plays that really come to mind, obviously, not being droned up in Cocktail on one of those defenses, and then of course, the Maestro clutch that we saw at the 1v3, perfect movement all over the map. He did the world tour of the top floor and still managed to clutch it out. And then Achieved, also really impactful plays. Obviously, game-winning clutch back on round number 7, managing to make it a 7-0 clean sweep with an incredible comeback on their one and only attacking round. And then that play as well, where he was able to go for the roam in reading, and somehow, despite the enemy team having all the intel, all the cover, all the positioning, gets like 3 kills and gets out. Incredible stuff from these players, and they're plays that not every player can make. This is a team filled with star power, and no matter what the position is, no matter who you are, you always have to respect that.
Yeah, and talking about respect, Jacob, Jesse just ran down the line of some very historic players, and I pretty much feel like you can agree with me on this point, right? Feel free to, join along as you may, but taking a look at last week, yes, TSM, they spanked the upset. It was actually embarrassing, but behind the likes of Geo and Achieve, they were extremely successful. We're talking about 10-2 and 11-2 stat lines for the 2. But also, this is a part that isn't being brought up right now, Jacob. Merc and Bolo did not have a good day at all. We're talking about, what is this, 7-10 stat line between the 2? We know they can be better than that. And when they get to that point, Jacob, is this going to be the TSM that we have always been waiting for?
I would certainly hope so. Merc has kind of had like a middle of the pack performance, like a 1.0 rating through the past couple of games, even though it seems like TSM doesn't really need to lean as heavily into him as they used to. Bolo's kind of the bigger story here. He obviously isn't, lighting up the scoreboard in the same way that he probably would from last stage, but it's more that he's at the bottom of TSM's overall player list in terms of his stats overall, which is I'm wondering where he's going to wake up. He hasn't quite done that yet. We're looking for, those really big highlight flashing moments. But every time we ask when Bolo plays, it's more like, when does Gio play? When does Chala play? When does Achieve play? Because those ones seem like they're coming into the lobby with a lot more, I guess, will to do better. I don't know if that's because Bolo is either on a different role set or he just isn't used to being able to play on LAN as consistently, for this NAL stage, because last stage wasn't played offline. I'm not really certain what it is for Bolo at this stage in the game. Once he wakes up, TSM probably won't have to worry about, are we gonna, like a 50-50 coin flip about whether or not we're gonna win this game. But once he's more consistent, things will look a lot better.
I completely agree. I feel like TSM at their best with Bolo popping off is a beautiful thing to see, but let's hop on over to see what the team on the other end of the table is going to be bringing along to this contest. It's going to be Mirage and Jesse. You know a lot about them, but also there was a topic or point that you brought up earlier before last week's series about them dying fast and early. This time around, what do you have to say about them? Because it still happened in that game after the topic was brought up.
Yeah, listen, it's never fun highlighting players that maybe aren't playing to their fullest potential, that aren't playing their best, but now it's beginning to be a trend. Loading is dying a lot. Of the 25 rounds Mirage have played so far in the NAL in their 2 previous games against Oxygen and Dark Zero, Loading has died 24 times. He has a survival rate of 4%.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever seen single-digit survival rates before. It's really out of the norm to see somebody dying this often. So Loading's got to pick it up. I did, talk about this after the Mirage game, and I said, you know what? He's still getting traded more often than not. He's on that roam clear role. It's not the end of the world. Against Oxygen, though, on Oregon, it got a little bit worse. He's playing alone a lot, and a lot of this is due to the roles he's on.
Yeah.
He's playing that Nomad. He's playing the flank watch, and you kind of have to be alone to play those roles, right? You can't really have like a teammate backing you up to go for a trade when you're on flank watch, because then there's not enough like going on for the push, right? That's a solo role. So I don't blame him for being solo, but he's got to find ways to not keep dying in these 1v1s, because time and time again, he's being challenged by a Jaeger, or even in sight when they're going for these pushes, and he's pushing alone, he's being peeked on.
Wow.
And he's losing a lot of these gunfights. I'm not saying just like hit your shots. Some of it's going to be better positioning, some of it's got to be better awareness, some of it's got to, be hitting your shots. But if Mirage want to start finding success in the NAL, Loading not dying is going to be a big part of that.
I mean, so you're saying essentially in a way with Loading going in there and battling the likes of the roamers to clear the flank, he's kind of an entry fragger, and his 50-50 is going to be important for Mirage's success. But it wasn't just him that struggled last week. It was also my man Dream right there. I feel terrible saying it, man. But you know what, Jacob? There's bright spots. Benji popped off last week, 11-8, and you believe that he's going to show us why continuously throughout these series he is a great pickup for Mirage.
He was a really good pickup option, I think, before Mirage came calling. A lot of people are probably like, oh, you play in Challenger League, so there probably isn't, you'd rather go with like a proven tier 1 pro rather than go for somebody who's in tier 2. But Benji so far has definitely shown why he was worthwhile. So far through 2 games, he's 22-20, he has a 1.08 rating, and his cost is also at 68%. The man is playing a lot of those roam slash, more of the fragger heavy roles. He's gunning, and he's really so far showing up in moments where players like Dream or Not Loading aren't getting the frags that they're probably supposed to be getting. Benji is still cleaning up in his own right. What you're hoping is that you don't need a player like Benji to keep on getting kills over and over again, and that hopefully those 2 guys can probably help to pick up the slack a little bit, but it's still paying dividends right now for Mirage to go after Benji the way that they did.
I feel good about their potential though, Jesse, and I know you might want to say something about this as well. But looking at the first week, Nyx had a gigantic game. You take a look at last week as well. They really didn't have too much of a hot game like they did against Dark Zero. But this time around, we're going to see if Benji and the rest of the squad can finally pick it up. But with the maps finally here, Jesse, where do you think it'll be best for both of these teams to play?
I'm thinking Villa Cafe are my most 2 likely maps. Consulate is the auto ban for Mirage. That makes a lot of sense. TSM, usually like Clubhouse, but I guess not today. There goes Villa, one of the ones I thought we might end up on Cafe, banned out. And so we should be going Coastline here because that's a very good map. Coastline's a very good map for TSM. They probably choose to go there.
Please.
Rather than...
Chalet!
Oh, we did a Chalet! Okay.
Yes!
That's a curveball. That's a curveball, and Mirage might have just been caught off guard with these bans because they leave TSM with their last pick, Coastline versus Chalet. And I'm pretty shocked that that TSM don't pick Coastline. It's a map that they have lost once in the last year. Chalet we've never seen. So if Mirage were expecting this could be okay for them. You know, it's an upsettable map. If they weren't, they could have just gotten the rug pulled out from under them.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, boy.
we're now going to see the debut of Chalet in the NAL. Jacob, you've been waiting for this moment for so... I know you're feeling down and out for the vaccination right now, but what's going on in your head?
Honestly, I wanted Chalet just because I enjoy seeing new maps get played as soon as they get brought into the rotation. That was the same case when Theme Park came in at the beginning of last year. I was like, yes, we get to see a new map under competitive rule sets that got a rework. It's going to be a lot of fun. But now, because of what our good friend Mr. Parker and Intero Makai just said in our TeamSpeak, he doesn't know Chalet callouts. Yeah, he doesn't know how to cast this one, so it'll be a little bit of fun watching him struggle on this one. I'm so down for this, man.
Why did you call out Parker? All right, you know what, fellas? I'm so excited for this. It's time for the predictions. Jacob, it's going to be your turn this time around. Do you think it's going to be Mirage? Or, listen, what's going to happen to you?
TSM are a little hot and cold. They were cold in that game against Beast Coast, but they were really hot in that game against XSET. The problem is that XSET game also still kind of has that caveat to it, right? So, as much as I do think Mirage still has potential, I'm gonna say I want to say TSM. I'm gonna say TSM, but I do think this might be a case where we see both teams go to overtime.
Jesse, give it to me, man.
TSM are looking back. They just potentially brought the rug out from under Mirage. They could be coming with a huge bunch of strats that Mirage aren't ready for. Again, made a lot of team moves, so they might not have the same amount of time to learn this map and to create strategy. TSM have kept the same core for a long time now. They should be ready for Chalet. I'm very excited to see it, but I'm going to predict the TSM win here.
You know what? What you said, it makes sense, but it don't make sense. TSM pulled the rug from under Mirage and took it to Chalet, and they have all these strats. That's sexy and all, but you know what? How do you know how to prepare for a team if you don't know what the hell they're gonna do? I'm going Mirage all the way. They're hungry. They're looking for a win. And also, by the way, TSM has been the first team that has been upset here for the NAL. But ladies and gentlemen, now is the time. We're finally gonna see Chalet between Mirage and TSM. Parker and Kickstar, take it away.
No, I always love hearing him say that. Take it away. It just always fills me with chills. Look at this beautiful transition over to us. Hello.
Hey, it's ours now.
Michael, I undid my top button, by the way. Do you want to loosen up a little bit?
Yeah, it's a little strangled, to be honest. Thank you.
Just take it
I'm
off.
trying, but it's really tight.
No, the whole thing.
No, not gonna do that.
Okay. I understand that we have sponsors and we have probably an age requirement.
Yeah, so I feel like I should keep my
So-
shirt on, if that's all right with everybody watching right now.
I'd like to also clarify that I do, in fact, know Chalet. However, I think I'm just going to pretend that it's Theme Park and just make all of the callouts as if it was Theme Park. So
There's one
get
dragon.
prepared for a lot of throne defenses. Those are going to be some fun there. Dragon office initiation, etc. It'll be a great time. But I'm excited, honestly. We casted this map way back before it got reworked. One of the most, I would say, one of the biggest highlights of our careers, and our first finals ever together were Ents defeating Black Dragons in the Season 6 finals. They won the championship on this map. So it's nice to be back here, albeit a reworked map. So,
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Chalet played. There's a lot of build up to this map. It's definitely a very different one. I think generally speaking, the consensus in the competitive community is that it is a well-balanced map for comp. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how these teams play on it. Going into a map like this, it's really hard to predict which team is going to come out on top. But zooming in a little bit and away from the teams, we've got two players here, Merc and Not Loading, who haven't really showed up for their team yet in this stage. Which one of them do you think is going to show up the most today? So it's a direct head-to-head for the community poll between Merc and Not Loading. Remember, you can vote easily on our Twitter, R6 Esports NA. And yeah, I think this is a fair head-to-head because both these players, I mean, they haven't necessarily been struggling. They just haven't been having the most amazing stage so far.
I mean, not loading has certainly struggled. Jesse inflicted the most savage of burns in terms of his single-digit survival rating.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, I've known not loading for quite a while. I think he's he's somebody that I would consider a friend, and obviously I've cheered for his success. He used to play for my community way back in the day, and he's also a good personal friend of another friend of mine. I use the word friend very charitably here, Flynn. So it sucks to see somebody like not loading struggle at this level. Somebody like Merc, though, Merc is a weird test subject for high level play because he does so well some games where he's just absolutely unstoppable. And then other games, he's just downright absent.
Yeah.
And that inconsistency is something that can obviously come back to bite TSM in big moments. The good news is that I would argue that Merc has never really been absent in big money matches. In this particular matchup against Mirage, I think you're going to need everybody coming out swinging. Mirage surprised us with their very first match in Playday number 1. I think they regressed back to the mean in their matchup last week against OXG. Here on Chalet, it's anything goes. The analysts suspected that maybe Mirage got caught off guard with the operator bans, or got caught off guard with the map bans. We'll see if the same applies for the operator bans here now. As your operator bans, Thatcher and Nomad, not really much of a surprise with a map like this. Well, Mai and Maestro, and if you'd like, take us through these operator bans for this map.
Yeah, so Thatcher is pretty typical. I'm sure we're all used to this at this point. It's going to make opening up walls more difficult, but with Maverick in play, that's not going to be too much of a problem. And on Chalet, we do see a lot of hard destruction, but much of it is easily facilitated by an Ash charge from below or above or wherever. The only problem with entry is going to be in the basement, so when we do go downstairs, which seems to be round number 1, preferably the attack is going to have a Maverick, but because they don't know what site they're going into here, they're not going to bring that Maverick. They will bring a Zero. That will help at getting the wall open. You can throw a cam into the site and destroy whatever happens to be on the wall. So there's some maneuverability here for TSM. They're not leaving themselves in a bad spot. The Nomad band is going to be really important because there are a lot of potential flanks on this map, and holding default flanks are not yet well ingrained in the comp teams, obviously, because we haven't seen a lot of play on this map. The defender bands, Wamai and Maestro, I mean, that's pretty typical as well. You're going to want to get rid of one of the two denial operators between Jaeger and Wamai, no matter what map you're on. And the Maestro, yeah, okay, you just don't want to deal with the Alda. You don't want to deal with the Evil Eyes. I feel that. Overall, interesting ban phase so far. For Chalet, it will be impactful mostly on the basement because of that Thatcher ban.
For an operator like a Maverick would come in really handy here, but I mean, he's not being brought. Just a single hard breach is being trotted out by TSM. So, well, I mean, this could be shaping up to be a wine take rather than that front snowmobile garage. And for those of you that are not familiarized with Chalet, I'm sure you've probably played it at this point, as it's been in the game for quite a while. It's one of my favorite remakes, actually. And I really like the changes that they've made here. Now, one of the biggest changes that's been made is in regards to how this bottom floor bomb site is played out. Blue now connects all the way back to a newly reworked wine cellar, so you can hold that a little bit more aggressively. You can also hold it from above. For those that are curious, by the way, B Money is Benji Mula, who plays on this team. So Benji's obviously changed his name to B Money. Not loading is just loading now. Hot and cold is now Hotton. So we've seen a couple changes here for the names. Regardless, there's a mute jammer that's going to be the only denial for Mirage. It's downstairs on that snowmobile wall, so they can't open it up just yet. You can see the Selmas go. Zero is a very popular operator. You're going to see him played on this map quite a lot. He's great for holding flanks. His Sam cams, as we often refer to them as, can go just about anywhere. And fun fact, Chala gets the very first kill. Feel free to have your Chala appreciation posts ready for the Rainbow Six Pro League subreddit.
So with the early entry there from the Zero, a little bit of a slowdown here on the round. Chala's just controlling the main lobby. That's going to give good cutoff points. Nade down to the bottom of main stairs, and loading takes a whole heck of a lot of damage. They'll still be up, but not in a great position. The worst position, though, for Achieved is Hotton on the roam inside of office, is able to shut him down. It's going to be a good call from one of his teammates to facilitate that kill. It looks like it might have been through the punch hole there in office wall onto the top of main stairs. Achieved was the one to throw the nade. Loading. One tap onto Geo. We didn't see it, but we certainly heard it. Doesn't matter if you're low on HP, if you can land shots like that. And he's changed his name. Certainly he has also loaded into the server this time. Hopefully, for his sake, he'll have a better performance here than in the last few maps.
TSM treading water at this point, and they don't really seem to know what to do with the hold that they have inside a main lobby. They hear the explosion go off above them in the office, and they know that somebody's up there, but they don't know exactly where. Is the, a great shot from Bolo. I was going to say, is the Yana spotted out by Hot and Cold? But no, Bolo's just better on that position. Wary of that camera going on. Might have been spotted at the last second. Unsure just yet, but he's got a barricade up that he's going to need to chew through. His Chala just eyes an opening through Snowmobile. And in he goes. Not loading down as Chala attempts the plant. Hot and finished off, and it's Nyx now in a 1v2. As TSM seems to have been able to fix things. Beautiful kill from Nyx, but he's not able to get the diffuser as it's planted successfully. The man who started off the action, Chala, will also be the one to finish it for his team. A tense 1v1 here in the very first round. Now, Nyx is going to need to take out that diffuser. And the gaping opening inside of the garage. He doesn't know where anybody is, and he'll expend a nitro cell. Chala is far enough away. He'll just inch around and sees Nyx run out, and it's the wrong direction. Easy cleanup for Chala as a big round from the 0. And TSM managed to take what appeared to be a bit of a stall out in that mid-round and fix things as need be. TSM takes round 1.
Beautiful play there in the post plant from Chala. He had 3 cameras in his pocket after he got that plant down, and we did see him throw at least one of them out, so you can bet that, just one of them actually. You can bet that his team was making a call off that camera that he threw out. And I mean, that's a hard post plant to lose if you're Chala. It's not really Nyx's fault that that went poorly in the attempted clutch. I mean, how are you gonna retake a post plant planted right on the snowmobile garage wall? It's just not gonna happen. So well played the TSM. The roam from Mirage was not fully cleared out, and the overall attack was a little bit weird from TSM. I have to chalk that up to Chalet still being fresh and the meta not being fully established, because it looked kind of like TSM wanted to do a full clear, but then they didn't. And then that cost them. But then they won anyway because they won some key gunfights and were able to distract. I really love Bolo's play in that round. He got the 1 kill onto Houghton up in kitchen that he shouldn't have gotten. Houghton really should have won that fight. He had the advantage. And then he managed to distract the rest of Mirage in sight, allowing Chala to get the plant. So hero plays from Bolo. TSM starting off good.
I do like how adaptive that roam was from Mirage. You had Houghton playing upstairs. I don't think they knew where he was. They were having some trouble droning out the players from Mirage, despite the fact that the only thing that could really stall them out in that position would have been the Mozzie pests. But regardless, I mean, it was played effectively. And the one thing that you see on a map like Chalet, and it's been played a couple times in the other regions. The first time that we saw it, the very first map, the very first Playday of the EU League, boom, Chalet, first things first. And Geo, never mind, just walks into the bomb site, gets a kill, and now he's going to get the diffuser down quite easily. Mirage has been boxed out. There's still 2 minutes left in this round, and the diffuser goes down, cutting the amount of time down to only the 40-second timer. And TSM has Mirage in their clutches, leaving Houghton and B-Money to try and do something for their team. Now, they've managed to do some damage to TSM. Houghton swings onto the doorway, gets a very first kill, needs more, but he gets fragged by Achieve on the main stairs. Achieve charges into the bomb site. Benji Mula's boxed out. Merc gets that one. And TSM very quickly take yet another round.
That one was not even close. TSM, it looks like they just vaulted in through the site window. And that's really interesting. A smart observation from TSM, as it's true that oftentimes teams will set up the bar site in a way that does not actually have a hard cover on the billiards window. The reason for that is because, generally speaking, it is assumed that the drop being opened in library is enough pressure to dissuade the attackers from vaulting through that window. But you can't also... It's weird because you can't hold the drop because of the windows in library. So TSM read into that, figured out that, the drop's going to be open, but we don't have to worry about it. Just walked into sight and took full advantage of the negligence in the defensive setup from Mirage. I mean, it's not going to work again, Parker, but it's still a great observation from TSM.
Don't say that. It absolutely might. Don't say, you can never say that. You can't just barge in here and be like, Parker, it's clearly not going to work. And then it happens again, and you're like, I didn't expect this one.
If Mirage lets that happen again, then they deserve to be relegated, and we're only in the beginning of this stage. So let's just say,
and we're only in the beginning of the stage, and you're already telling a team they deserve to be relegated.
No, I didn't say that, Parker. I said if they let
Mirage, we're just going to relegate them right here, right now. By the way,
vault
they don't
in
have
through
any more
Billiard's
chances.
window one more time without any contention whatsoever, then they haven't learned their lesson, and it was a pretty blatant mistake. And yeah, that's egregious, Parker. I don't know how else to put it. It's a new map, but you got to learn from your mistakes.
No way you're already seeing, but this is, by the way, clip it and ship it. Caster Kickstar.
Oh my gosh.
Claims Mirage deserves to be relegated.
You're making a much. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, Chala's gonna vault in.
They tried it again, by the way. You were talking about it. They vault on into the trophy. But it's a trophy window this time, obviously. It's a little bit farther off. They try to vault on in. Hot and Cold is prepared and ready for that, and he downs Chala.
I only said that because I knew they wouldn't make that mistake again, Parker. Come on.
Chala's playing the operator, which is very aptly named 0, which happens to be the amount of things that Chala's going to do this round. So he's out, and he'll bleed out. They'll have to go get him. Gets picked back up by Geo. Great teammates, by the way. Merc is inside the map. He's upstairs trying to hunt on his own as Bolo gets droned in through West Main, and he'll wait very patiently. You're absolutely right, though, by the way. TSM doesn't just vault into Billiards, get a plant off after Geo gets a kill, and then vaults out. So far, you're correct.
Yay, I'm doing it. Now, the clear upstairs for TSM is a lot more uniform. It seems to be focused more extremely on actually getting those roamers. That's a great use of the gadget from Yana, the clone destroying the Surya gate. And now we've got that cleared out. The rest of TSM can start to apply pressure to Library. It's not going to be easy to dislodge those roamers, though. They're in a great spot, and they've got the bulletproof camera by Chimney to support them.
Loading's in a pivotal position right now. Got barbed wire, nothing to really deal tons of damage in terms of an explosion, other than maybe the Goyo shield in front of him. And they've got this cross that Mirage has established on the window by Library, and Benji Mula is looking at the other one playing in front of the other Goyo shield that's been positioned. Benji's focus turns over towards the hallway leading to Piano to see what TSM is going to do. We talked in the very first round about how TSM almost looked like they were going to stall out in the mid-round. They solved that in the previous round by having no mid-round whatsoever and just jumping in and getting the diffuser down. But still, again, we're not really in the mid-round. We're in the end game at this point, 30 seconds to go, and TSM are having significant troubles breaching this top floor. Now, it is a 5v5 as Chala's been picked back up. They'll have to do some work. Merc spots one, and he'll duel Benji. They both swing. It's sloppy aim on both parts, but Merc walks away with the kill. 2 more, though, for Mirage, as it gives them the advantage. Now Bolo down, gives MRG, as they're listed on the right side of your screen, perfect opportunity to win this one. Ultimate disrespect as Hot and Cold with the pistol collects 2 kills. They're not going to be visible on your screen because it's the Frost of Dream to get the final one. And Mirage managed to learn from their mistakes in that second round, make a course correction, and they finally get themselves on the board.
And they avoid relegation.
They're not allowed. Yeah, Mirage, you hear that now, by the way? Not allowed to be relegated. Not allowed. Kickstarter has said it.
Oh, boy. No, but anyway, good learning, as you mentioned. Mirage definitely correcting. But also, TSM went for a very different play. The top floor clear there was the problem for TSM, as they had to clear out 2 Goyo shields in a perfect crossfire that you pointed out by Chimney and top backstairs. That crossfire from Mirage was just too much for TSM, and they were unable to get those shields until it was too darn late. They already lost too much manpower and time just lingering, waiting for some kind of opportunity to get that control they needed above. So TSM not likely to go for a top clear again if it's a bar defense later on in the match. But for now, it'll be a master hold from Mirage. Now, this is one of your more common bomb sites on the, if you're playing ranked and you're just having some fun with some buddies, or even at high level ranked in a 5-stack, very sweaty. You'll usually see this in the bottom floor played most. We do see some bar and some dining as well, occasionally. The setup here is, generally speaking, having a rotation in the closet and a rotation between the sites. The exact location of those rotations is up to you. Fully reinforcing over by the quad wall, or the box, as some people will call it. But in this case, it's going to be Mirage opening up half of box, reinforcing the other half, extending into library with 4 players, no, 3 just now, extending over to library and trying to hold any push into sight from library, or holding the roam from library as well, or roam clear, excuse me, from library. In TSM side, it's actually going to be a Solarium take, which has become much more popular on this side as of late.
This is a pivotal part of the map, whether you're defending the kitchen bomb site, as you talked about, or whether you're defending upstairs. And Bolo vaults in. It's not the Iana clone this time. It's himself, and he gets some damage from not loading, who's now just loading at this point. So again, TSM taking some damage on this entry. That was the same window in the same spot that Chala was felled from in the previous round. He got picked back up, but TSM are just obviously not aware of the angle play that Mirage is holding, and it was hot and cold last time. This time around, not loading to do it. So Mirage very clearly have prepped on this map to a certain extent. The analysts had speculated that because it was Chalet and not Coastline, that Mirage might have simply been outfoxed in the ban phase. Doesn't appear so at this point. Chala goes down as the very first casualty for TSM. Merc refrags onto Dream, but it's not the person who managed to take Chala out. And the wall getting opened up in Solarium is, they know there's a Valkyrie camera somewhere. Merc's just got to find it. Clearer entry now for TSM towards the bomb site.
Ooh, this flank for Nyx could pay out well, and Hotten's gonna get his second as well. There's no flank watch, and this is a freebie, but oh, barely managed just to get that one in the end. Very scary, and as Bolo gets loading, it's looking less and less like a Mirage round. There's another great entry from Geo. Bolo even securing a knife kill. Hotten over in Piano, the top fragger for his team in a 1v2. A whole minute left for these attackers, though, and they're gonna drone Hotten out and take this one patiently. No need to rush. The drone placed, the dead members on TSM calling out across. Drone into bathroom, finds Hotten. He'll reposition over to the closet. And no, swinging into sight, he'll be felled by Geometrics. TSM take their 3rd round.
Well, the one thing that went well for Mirage on that one was that they got the very first pick, and the opening pick obviously helped them a little bit through the mid-round. And then, well, TSM managed to right the ship, so to speak. What a mess that whole engagement on Solarium was. Not just Solarium stairs, but all the involvement with the, what was it, 3 or 4 different players that dueled in that particular spot. It just did not work out very well. And I mean, this is something that's been said of Chalet matches so far and was talked about heavily after that EU Playday, about how Chalet is very much a frag-heavy map at the moment. There is strategy involved, but once a wall or two gets opened up on most of these bomb sites, it's just an all-out free-for-all. And we saw that right there with that Solarium wall getting opened up into Master. It disallows the defenders from holding so many strong positions because you've lost control of Solarium unless you go for a retake, which banning Nomad allows the defenders to retake more freely without the fear that a lot of these teams would bring. And obviously, Nomad is a very good operator that TSM likes to bring a lot. TSM banned out Nomad, so they know how to play around it. But regardless, the defenders get pushed out of so many crucial positions when that Solarium wall gets opened up, especially if the window gets opened up and there's any kind of presence from an upside down rappel on that window in Master 2. You basically have to fall off of that bomb site, and then you play out of either bathroom or the closet. If the closet has a rotate to bathroom, you still have to be wary of the bathroom window as well. So you basically just need to start shooting at that point, which is what we see most teams do. And that's why all hell broke loose when the Solarium wall got opened up in that previous round.
I mean, it is partially down to the map, but I gotta say there's a lot of bits and bobs of strategy that are just being forewent by both teams. For example, in the last round, why was there no one watching flank for TSM? Like, seriously, it's so easy. You could either put somebody in trophy to just hold the hallway, or a drone maybe, so somebody can call it when they die. There were dead people on TSM. Somebody could have called that out, but there's just no emphasis put on that. I know the Nomad is banned, and that's a major inconvenience, but there's still plenty of other tools you could use for flank watch, and that could have gone a lot cleaner for TSM. This is going to go well for TSM as Merc gets the initial frag. Down goes Benji as, Merc is just walked into the building through a window, chilled for a bit, and then picked up his first kill on one of the roamers. Spotted upstairs is Houghton. It is an odd way that this map is playing out. The roamers, though, from Mirage in this round at least, not working very well.
I like the creativity of the roam for Mirage. I said this before, I'll say it again. Houghton punishes Merc on it, and he joins his cousin Nyx at the hip as they're now in West Main, ready to head back downstairs. Despite all this action happening upstairs, like so many different maps, this is, of course, a defense of a different floor. It's a wine defense again. Loading is stuck in the corner as one of the sites from TSM is staring him down, waiting, and I don't know if there's any salvation or way for him to get out. If Dream is capable of smoking it off, then it might be possible for Loading to rotate out of that position. It looks like he tried to. He gets softened up and then finished off. The smoke is a little bit too late for his teammate to survive. So what was an even 4v4 has now become a disadvantage for Mirage with just over a minute to go. Very quickly equalizing it, though, is Houghton from a long-range snipe on T'Challa, finishing him off. And this roam for Mirage is still paying dividends.
Was working out poorly in the beginning, but Houghton has managed to correct that. Not only that, but he has got 9 kills, and he is far and away the top performer for this map on both teams. Challenging from blue is Bolo. Good pre-fire there onto the shield, but Dream, or rather Nyx, peeks on the side of the shield rather than the top. Ooh, doing more damage to Nyx, allowing the cross, though, is Houghton back inside of Snowmobile. This back and forth has not managed to claim any bodies just yet on either team, but TSM has an abundance of information on the last 3 defenders, or at least 2 of them. Nyx in blue, Houghton spotted behind the shelf, and the nade misses! Oh no! And the push-in will work for Geo, but now he's got a plant, and there's not a lot of cover. Achieved in blue will get 1, Bolo from Snowmobile the other. TSM will manage to take yet another round.
There's no ADS there. That spot for you is a death trap. I'm surprised they stuck 2 bodies in there with the eagerness that we saw from Mirage. I understand why somebody's playing in that spot. You're able to control blue. You can watch if somebody pushes in that direction. You can also help with anybody pushing a line, and then you've got the opening to Snowmobile. But there's still frags left on the board. Your ADSs are no longer in position to help you at all. And I gotta give some props here to the way that TSM played that one out, because I looked at the clock with 40 seconds remaining and I saw the fact that Bolo was on blue stairs needing to push down to elbow, and there's somebody sitting on that deployable shield. He's playing as Yana. He doesn't really have anything to flush that player out other than just taking a duel. And there's barbed wire in his way to slow his advance, and that's going to cut into the remaining clock in the round for TSM. But they knew better than I did, obviously, and there was a rotation that we didn't see on screen because it was Achieved who ended up taking up a spot on blue stairs while Bolo went elsewhere, and it allowed Mirage to just simply wait and then die. Hot and cold has been the story for Mirage thus far. This has been the case in all of their matches. I mean, you saw the DZ Mirage match back in Playday #1. We refer to it as the Hot and Cold Revenge Tour because that's what we say in North America. And Hot and Cold trying to enact some revenge, or exact some revenge on his former teammates. He has been head and shoulders above the rest of Mirage so far. And even though it would be suggested that Hot and Cold was a last-minute acquisition to this roster, it has been a huge bright spot for this brand new team to the NA League. And right now he's leading the way for his team in more ways than just what we see on the scoreboard.
Okay, so it's bar defense again. And once more, TSM want to clear from the north side. Last time we saw this, well, they hit a wall. And, well, his name is Houghton. He's trying to effect the same sort of pressure in this round by holding the trophy vault in as well as the west lobby. He'll fall back as soon as he's droned out, though. They've got the mirror window to support that hold as well later in the take from TSM. I don't know how I feel about TSM committing once again to a north over top clear. It just worked so poorly last time, mostly down to the time that was burnt by the 2 Goyo shields, one at chimney, one at top of back stairs. That position for Mirage was so strong. I don't know if TSM's gonna be able to, correct the course this time around.
They've been keeping T'Challa on intel operators and on that flex role where he can also watch flank. With Bolo stuck on Iana, there's a glaring absence of a Zofia on TSM's lineup. And I mean, so far it hasn't really been that much of a problem, but she would be obviously a critical operator here, especially aligned with a Sledge and an Ashe. Ashe, of course, now has 3 of those breaching rounds, so she can use those at her discretion to try and pick up any Goyo shields that you might see in her way. As for this, Merc, not going to do too much. How about that? Breaking double digits, hot and cold with an explosive start. 2 nitro kills onto Merc and Bolo. Down go your nades, down go your explosives. TSM find themselves in significantly tougher spot because of that.
Beautiful nade there from Achieve, though, to try and balance it out. However, it only nets 1 kill, not 2. So TSM still 1 man down, and they have yet to clear these Goyo shields. They were about to do it before the C4 came from below, but now they are just going to have to ponder their options. The top floor clear is not likely to be successful, even though Achieved can get control of Library if he plays his cards right. With the clock ticking down, Mirage are poised to win this one off just waiting out the round.
So here they go towards the top of Library stairs, watching the wall that's been opened up ever so slightly. The Goyo shield will slow them down for just a couple seconds as it explodes into flames in front of them. So TSM will need to attempt a death drop. Just waiting, watching, mirror windows staring intently at them as Dream is inside of stock, just watching and waiting himself. No nitro cell to thwart his opponents, but he'll be able to chew through them with the Vector in hand. Loading is also getting the cross towards this Library stairs setup, but Geo walks in, gets the frag. Now it's Benji Mula here to try to do something with it. He stops it in its tracks, and all the frags from TSM are not going to stop the bleeding as nobody can recover the diffuser. The first half in the books, Mirage manages to take round number 3 and round number 6 on the same bomb site. It's good enough for 2 of the 6 rounds, but we'll see what they can do now as they move to attack.
Gio might have been able to clutch that one out, actually, after he got the kill on the mirror window. That was an impressive frag. But nope. The half wall, not even half wall, more like 1/3 wall, was not sufficient cover for the plant. Even when you're planting, so when you are planting, your head does duck down lower than when you're crouching. But yeah, I guess that wall's just not tall enough. Lesson learned there for TSM. It's 4-2 though. On an attacking half, I would assume on Chalet that's pretty good. So we'll see what TSM can bring out now that they are over on the defense. They'll start on Bar Gaming, which has proven to be a pretty strong site for Mirage at least. And actually, it was the only place that they managed to win, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, we'll see what TSM can bring out here on this same site. So no Mira being brought. The Frost is continuing to be a go-to pick. No Goyo as well for TSM. So the 1 shield at top back stairs, but no secondary for Chimney. It's a different setup, but very similar. They're expecting, I assume, a north over clear on the top floor. That appears to be what's been happening a lot in scrims because this setup is well rehearsed.
10 seconds to go.
It's an interesting take. I got to be honest with you, though, Parker. This map is so new. It's so early in the meta that the north over top clear for a bar defense is not necessarily set in stone. And from what we've been seeing so far, I would assume that there's got to be a better strategy out there.
I mean, look at a map like Villa, look at a map like Coastline, look at a map like Cafe. All 3 of these maps came into the map pool. Coastline coming in as a fresh map, obviously. Villa 2, Cafe the rework. And the sites that we saw used very reliably have changed over time. Penthouse Theater used to be one of the best and most desirable bomb sites for teams, and that has slowly changed. It went from pro play and then down to ranked, where teams avoid it like the plague, and Kitchen is now seen as an extremely viable bomb site. On Cafe, the top stairs bomb site, up on Cocktail, it sees seldom play now as well. So things will change over time. Chalet, I imagine, will too. Merc, by the way, he's 6-6 for this particular matchup because he gets felled by Nyx on the entry from the Ashe main. Nyx is almost always involved in this conflict at the start of each round. Oftentimes, unfortunately, doesn't go so well for Nyx. This round, not the case. He gets the opening pick for Mirage.
So again, it is a head-to-head between Loading and Merc on the community poll. Merc is still winning that head-to-head, even though he's not having the best performance. Certainly not a Merc expected performance. He is still having a better performance than Loading. So, moving on in this round, Loading still has a chance to change that. What is most apparent, though, is that top over north clear is not going so smoothly for Mirage. It's seeming a lot like the same thing we saw on the last half here. There's still time for change. Plenty of it, actually. there's at least been an efficient clear on the north side for Mirage. And a vault in through the window. He's already in Chimney. Bolo, you've got to watch that push. He reloads because Geo is covering, though, and Geo will pick up 2 frags on that. Beautiful hold for his teammate. Bolo now in a position to actually hold for himself, and he'll take down Loading. Nays coming in from Library, and TSM in firm control. Achieved flanking downstairs. Bolo gets his second frag as Houghton tries to play the Library window. TSM absolutely shutting out Mirage's clear on the top floor.
And with the exception of the entry from Nyx, that would have been a flawless round from TSM, as every single remaining member of Mirage gets caught out. There's not much they could do in that regard. Not a great round from Mirage, especially not having the intel on both Geo and Bolo posted up by Library and by Fireplace, or Chimney as it's called at the top, because, well, the Fireplace is on the main floor. So Mirage decides to take a timeout, even though Team Solo Mid, or TSM, are clear and present on your screen. If I'm Mirage, something's got to change here. I mean, obviously, you're taking a timeout after your very first attack. You don't exactly have a lot of runway left if you don't take a timeout right now. TSM wins the next round, you're on match point. And we've been critical of teams taking timeouts on match point because they could have done it sooner. The problem is that because Mirage went down the deficit they did through that first half, they got to take it now or there's no other time for them to really do it. So they're going to talk about it and hopefully figure something out, because we've seen it on defense, with the exception of their 2 bar defenses, those 2 bar billiards defenses that we saw, which were constructed quite well. The rest of what we saw out of them doesn't exactly inspire a ton of confidence. And right now it's just simply seeming like, one, Mirage is a newer team that's still acclimating to top level play. TSM historically, and it's been proven to be one of the best teams in the entire world, not just in North America. So Mirage are already going to have their hands full, even on a favorable map. But here, I think there is some, I think that there's some credibility here to what the analysts said about the fact that Mirage might have just simply been beaten in the map selection phase and are struggling now to get a grip on a map that not a lot of teams have a ton of knowledge to play on.
I mean, yes and no. I will say both of these teams are playing this map similarly. And to be frank, strategically, neither of these teams seems apparently... Like, it's not obvious to me that one team knows the map better than the other. That's what I'm picking up on here. We're seeing a lot of loose strategy that is not necessarily perfected. You know, because we see for example, the last match we just watched on Clubhouse, it seemed like both teams strategically had a deep understanding of what was happening, right? However, what is that?
10 seconds left before insertion.
I said that I would remove your tongue.
Library?
5 seconds to go.
Brary!
Oh. Brary. Library?
Attackers are moving out to locate a
Library.
bomb and defuse it.
Stoke says it too, by the way, so you're in good company.
Oh my.
Do you really want to be in the same company as Stokes, though? Let's be honest here. Stokes is the new Flynn. I mean, like, what you want to be with him?
Huh? No. Yes and no. He's a great caster and a good friend. But
Why do you have to be? I'm trying to be rude to Sam, and now you're being nice, and now it makes me look.
well, I mean, you're a terrible person, Parker. We all know that, so it's not exactly surprising to anybody.
Okay, this is not how I expected this to go.
Ooh.
Not Bolo probably didn't
Yeah,
either.
nice shot there from Loading. Down goes Bolo, and now one of your top performers for TSM picked off early. Anyway, as I was trying to, we were saying something about strategy. I wanted to say that Chalet is still not fully fleshed out, and both of these.
Yeah, you were saying that neither team is particularly comfortable, and I'll agree with that absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw it in EU. We saw it in that very first EU matchup, which I'll go back to, because obviously it's always tough to be the first team to go to a new map. And I know that Chalet is an old map, and people will say, well, actually, no, it's considered a new map. It's been reworked. It plays very differently than it used to. And if you look at how some of these executes happen, there is very little similarity to previous bomb sites. So don't but me.
I will try not to like.
No, not you. I mean the other
okay.
people. That, you know, Twitch chat.
Right. Well, I mean, they're going to do that
Yes.
no matter what. Ash charge from below, actually a little too far forward there. It's got to be on the other side of the pillar. And there you go. You can see it now. The wall is actually displayed clearly by those pillars on the ceiling. And now with the second Ash charge, the wall will open up. Half the round still to go for Mirage. And with the early pick and the wall open, their attack is looking pretty solid, as they have themselves in a good position to go for a half wall plant. This is looking a lot more like ranked than anything, but I'm not terribly surprised by that, given the site selection and the current setup.
Yeah, and I talked about how important Solarium is as well to just push out the defenders, and there's still time for Mirage to put their attention in that direction. It certainly doesn't seem like they're going to, at least not from what we can tell from the silhouettes. So this is a full-on south side execute, which is going to be over towards that master wall. Hot and cold dumping in frag grenades, a little bit of damage done to Chala. It doesn't look like either will net a kill. Chala somehow impervious to those explosions in front of him. He'll have to do some more work if somebody vaults into Piano, as Merc has his side, not too far off, and he can watch the double doorway leading from the library hall as well. Nice crossfire established by them, as Merc can also see towards the wall that's been opened up. Nyx is going to have to swing, but target prioritization is crucial here. Dream's the one who nets Chala, and now Merc taking some damage. Mirage are just going to barge into the bomb site. Merc swings around, sees somebody, and thinks better of it. Tries to engage, but Benji Mula's better than him. Down he goes. Almost a flawless round. No, Achieved is going to stop it in his tracks. He's got a nitro cell too. He and Geo obviously shouldering the weight. Dream going for the plant. 1 second left. Yoink! No chance to get the diffuser down, and it's match point for TSM, as Benji can't do anything about it.
Achieved certainly yoinking that round away from Mirage. Well put, Parker. And you can tell based on the player cams, he let his opponents know about it. That is unfortunate for Mirage. There it is. Beautiful stuff. Good awareness of what was happening in the site and the clock as well. Timing that one to perfection. TSM now on match point, and they look poised to take this map, despite that round going so much in favor of Mirage. There were so many things that Mirage did correctly in that last round. They cleared out over by Library really well, and didn't lose any manpower over there. They managed to get a pick as well. Thank you, thank you. I am taking a bow right now. You guys can't see it. And then they opened up the wall without a hitch. They wasted one Ash charge on it, but that's okay. Wall opened up, no bodies lost again, no time wasted. Following that, Dream got a really nice pick onto the player in Piano. That was Chala. That pick was crucial. Not a single body lost on the Piano push, and that's, you know, with Mirage expecting to lose a player there, putting 2 players in that position for the refrag. So, Piano control, wall open, plenty of time. You're entering in. You've got the man advantage by 2. Everything's going well for Mirage, but Achieved is downstairs with the C4, and he knows where you're planting. Truly unfortunate. Sometimes it happens, though. That's just Siege.
So, we ascribe shorthand to all the bomb sites, right? So far, I have Wine for the downstairs bomb site, Bar for the first floor bomb site, Master upstairs. This one, this bomb site, we're going to see it for the very first time. It's Dining and Kitchen. What do you want to call it? What's shorthand?
I think Kitchen. We always hear Kitchen more over Dining. Like,
Let's do
we
Kitchen
stay in
then.
line
I
with
like
other
that.
maps. We probably call it Kitchen.
Beauty. So we're going to call it Kitchen. So all 4 bomb sites have now been played here on Chalet. If I'm TSM, maybe you're going to try to catch Mirage off guard, because so far on their attacks haven't been exactly the strongest. They got off to a good beginning, though, a good footing on round number 8, but didn't really do them any good past that. Geo's back in stock. He's taking a beating as they drone him out multiple times, and now a Lion charge is going to be, well, a real tough spot for him.
Don't persist, though, and Chala gets the first kill, this time onto Nyx, who has been the main entry for Mirage. He hasn't been having the best performance overall, but a better performance than a good chunk of his team. 2 minutes left here, still plenty of time for Mirage to get this execute, but they're struggling to pick off the player back in storage. Nice spray there. Geo finally goes down to Houghton, who gets his 12th kill. The nade was helping him out with forcing the reposition, and now TSM and Mirage even in terms of man count. Control is okay for Mirage. They do get the south side of the building, and that seems to be the primary strategy for almost all of these bomb sites. Take the other side of the building over. In this case, it's working even better as Mirage gets their second frag. Loading able to pick up Achieved, who has been very clutch for TSM.
Looking behind this deployable shield was Chala, but he's going to lose the wall into Dining and peel off. Maybe the right call. Now Merc can watch it as that opening down beneath him, well, could possibly do some damage. And it's been opened up in such a way that he can see into lobby as well. Bolo swings, but Benji Mula has the better shot in that one. And TSM just find themselves losing gunfights left and right. Good for Merc, though, as he don't miss. And in this regard, his 7th kill is good enough. He loses to Hot and Cold though, and now Dream finishes off, and Mirage finally get a round on attack. It's the 3rd bomb site in the cycle for TSM, but finally something to be happy with. They've got quite a hill to climb, as it's still TSM on match point.
Beautiful play there for Mirage, recovering from losing that player early on. Nyx on the entry just wasn't able to hack it, but the rest of Mirage certainly came alive. TSM, I think you put it well. They were just losing a lot of gunfights. And the big problem is that they're taking those gunfights. TSM is the one initiating the fight. That really does not bode well for the chances if they happen to go back to that site. However, they don't need to. They're going to go to Bar Gaming, which appears to be their primary, and we'll see how this one goes. Interestingly, I don't think we've seen a basement defense from TSM. They seem to not favor that bomb site, which is fair enough. It's kind of understandable because all of these bomb sites are affected by hard destruction, obviously, but the most affected by hard destruction is going to be the basement. And yes, the Thatcher is banned, but there's still so many ways to circumvent all the denial you can place on the walls for the attackers. So maybe that's part of why TSM doesn't want to go downstairs. If you get this, especially like if you get the snowmobile all opened up as an attacker, essentially the basement becomes just an incredibly difficult site to defend. You get so much cut off there for the attack. Whatever the reasoning is, TSM, yeah, they just don't favor the bottom floor.
Maybe they're just assuming that Mirage is going to be most comfortable on that bomb site. I mean, you talked about it. That bomb site does tend to be one of the most common, if not the most commonly played in ranked, and it might show up a lot in scrims as well. From what we saw out of Mirage, I mean, they liked defending it too. And I mean, in other regions that we've seen this map, same thing applies. So if they're trying to beat Mirage by picking a map that Mirage is not comfortable on, it stands to reason that they'd also go to bomb sites that Mirage is not comfortable attacking as well. That could be some of the thinking why behind we don't see that wine cellar defense. Also, this bomb site is quite defendable. So you're not really losing anything by going here.
No, certainly not. I think that TSM have found their comfort groove on the map. At least they think they have. Again, I will reiterate that I don't think either of these teams, at least from what I'm seeing, have fully figured out this map. But they're miles ahead of the rest of us, that's for sure. So we can only watch and wait to see when it looks perfected. For right now, Mirage look to be clearing out top floor, north side, as you expect. Again, the basic strategy seems to be reflected of that, like every other map in competitive Siege. Clear from the same floor over to, on the far side, over to the site. It's north to south this time since the site is on the south side.
I was curious if Not Loading could see Bolo's position by fireplace through that library window, but no, it didn't appear so. Bolo's able to just scoot on out, and now he'll look at that exact window I just mentioned. Over on the library balcony, Bolo pivots, he gets one, and Geo another. So TSM start off this round just as they wanted. Still long range towards the window as well. Bolo snags another, and a third is possible as an exothermic charge will go off inside of office, opening things up. And they know that, well, for Mirage, there's a lot of work to be done. It's Benji Mula and Dream versus a perfectly aligned TSM squad. 2v5 match on the line. Mirage have had a bit of a rude entrance to NA League so far, and it doesn't look like TSM are keen to make it any easier.
I know that Geo is one of the top performers, but how did Bolo even win those fights is the real question. He's the hero this round for me. As Benji gets Geo, though, things get a little bit better for Mirage, but it's now just on Dream, who has to pick up 4 kills. He won't even get the first. Chala shuts him down, and there it is. TSM take the map, and they are the more confident and more professional team on this new map of Chalet.
Bolo in particular had a massive round. I think almost every player, except for Chala, I think every single player had an incredibly crucial series of kills in every round. Chala was reliable as always, and I hope that they created an appreciation post for him on the subreddit, as I'd mentioned. He technically bottom frags, but he plays his role quite well. As for the rest of the team, TSM all showed up. It was a great team effort for them, and they put in work, and they showed why this is a team that is a force to be reckoned with at every single event. There's some speculation as to whether or not TSM had regressed after their very first Playday. They suffered a quite shocking loss to Beast Coast, if you'll recall. And even Gio had spoken on camera on some of the content pieces that we had about how TSM wasn't the most confident coming into this season. Well, if today's result is any indication, they seem to be firing on all cylinders yet again, because there were very minimal mistakes that were committed by TSM that I wouldn't chalk up to anything more than just unfamiliarity with a map like Chalet.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just the lack of mistakes being made by TSM, but also the proficiency, overall proficiency, and also the abundance of mistakes being made by Mirage, to be frank. That last round in particular was a good example of that. A lot of fights being won by Bolo that we actually got to see, fights that he should not have been winning. Mirage was pinching on Bolo in Library, and he just won both of those fights. He was in the disadvantage in each of them, and he still won it. So, not that the Bolo train needs more fuel, but, he was my MVP for that match, at least personally, and he really pulled up.
Let's talk about Hot and Cold just for a second, because what a performance that was. Even if it was a losing effort, there were a couple rounds that were absolutely dominated by his plays, whether it be his crafty utility usage that were able to allow players to anchor upstairs by fireplace and by chimney and by the top of library stairs. Whether it was him just simply doing well on roam and wasting a lot of time as both Goyo and Mozzie, or whether it was his work on attack. He was definitely better on defense, though there weren't that many rounds on attack for him to really shine. Other than that, the Hot and Cold acquisition for Mirage looks to be a pretty darn good one, and he's trying to drag this team to the finish line on most play days. Other than that, that's it for Kix and I. Blue and Stokes will be carrying you over as casters for the remaining 2 matches. We have a break ready for you, and then analysts to break down what we just witnessed in our second match.